I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome you all here to the Board of Supervisors meeting this November 14th, 2023. Do we have any changes to the tentative agenda?
I do. Can we move the canvas to next week, please?
What?
We're gonna move the canvas to next week.
Okay. Moving on with meeting with department heads, elected officials. Krista Poggemiller, Health Department.
Good morning. We're just keeping busy. I don't have anything new to report.
Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. Everything's going well, been busy, but don't really have anything to add.
Rodney Bleasner, Maintenance.
Where's Rodney?
Rodney Bleasner left. He has left the building. Colin Gerst. Yeah.
Good morning. Just wanted to remind everybody, on Thursday, we're gonna do a little redirection for the county website to, nothing's gonna change on the county website, but on the back end, where it's being hosted, it's gonna move to a different data center. So that's gonna cause some disruptions during the day. That's gonna be the main county website and the elections website. I don't know exactly what time during the day we're gonna start it, but I know once we start moving and repointing the A records for the domain, it's gonna be up and down probably for at least an hour or two until that gets finished. So, but other than that, nothing to report.
Oh, yes.
Okay. How about Lisa Schaefer, County Attorney?
Busy and preparing myself for the budget hit that I'm gonna hear about at 11:30.
Good times will be had by all.
Yeah, I'm guessing no.
There's pizza.
Yeah, I'm guessing really.
Yeah, isn't it Happy Joe's Pizza though?
No, Domino's.
Okay, I like Domino's.
Yay.
That makes it better.
Not the little pizza that takes the, sting off of it, but
No such thing as bad pizza.
Right.
Thank you for the clarification, Michael. Appreciate that.
I might argue that.
I would too.
Gina Harden.
Good morning. Just working on training Shannon. I think she's gonna be a great fit for the county. She's at training last couple days, then we're headed to Des Moines for meetings and training, and that's all going well.
Good deal with that. Natalie Steffner, Recorder's Office.
Good morning. I attended an electronic service system committee meeting last week in Des Moines. So basically, Iowa Land Records are electronic recordings. So it's a subcommittee that I am on. So we did, speaking of budgets, we did review and have to amend our 2023 budget, which is pretty tight, and the 2024, which is gonna be very, very challenging as their recordings somewhat have been down. So hopefully, if interest rates and that maybe start to lower, things will get a little bit better then. But we also discussed just policies and procedures and that in the recorder's office, and updating maybe some document standards and that, which would require code change. But spent a lot of time up there last week. Otherwise, business as usual in the recorder's office.
Okay. Thank you. Ken Heineman, Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa.
good morning. We are waiting for the commission, the MHDS commission to review the Mahassey management plan, and that's gonna happen on December 6th. And so HHS and the commission have to approve the plan, and then I hope that it goes into effect, first of the year, by January. We will see if they may say you need to change this or that, and then that hold us up an extra month, but we'll, that's the next thing on the agenda for us. Thanks.
Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. Not a whole lot exciting going on. Our nature center staff's got a bunch of programs kind of put together for fall. I think today Friday, we just opened up the sign up for winter camp. We're gonna do some day camps during the winter break for local kids. Otherwise, guys are trying to get some work done when the weather allows, and just kind of cracking away.
Sounds good. Jared Lassiter, land use.
Morning. I've just been keeping busy as usual last few weeks here. We've got a couple of the minor subdivisions recorded that the board had approved in the last month, so it's good to see those rolling through the system. And apart from the items on the agenda today, I don't have anything else to report.
Sarah Marie, County Auditor.
Good morning. Busy trying to wrap up election things. We had a write-in winner for Danville, and he turned paperwork in at the last minute yesterday before business closed, so I gotta get that stuff, all filed and done, so we'll do the canvas next week once I have everything submitted. So just trying to get everything wrapped up, and we'll do our audit for West Burlington precinct that the Secretary of State's office called for on Thursday, and we have our budget meetings today, so busy.
So you did bring that in
Yep.
last night?
So Taylor Eisenman.
Yeah.
Okay. Sheriff Kevin Glendale.
Good morning. We've got a lot going on, but really no major news to brief the board on today. On the correction side, we're at 89 this morning. 17 were out of county, plus 1 juvenile. 2 each waiting for the halfway house and prison. We don't have dates on yet, but that list continues to be moving pretty well for us. So we've been happy with that over the last couple of weeks.
And last but not least, Brian.
Bill, Rodney's here.
Oh, Rodney's here. Last but not least, Rodney Bleasner.
Good morning, not too much to report. Talked to the construction workers out there out front this morning on Main Street. Looks like they're gonna be going from phase 1 to phase 2 either Friday or Monday. So the section that they poured there on the east side of the street will be opened up for the northbound lane traffic. They'll continue to use the same west side lane for the southbound traffic. So it'll be kind of a strip in the middle, Main Street, and then half the intersection they'll be working on phase 2. So there will be a little bit of some different traffic pattern there at the intersection for people to be aware of. But they're talking either Friday or Monday. They're not sure, so we'll see how it goes. That's all I have this time. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, Brian Carter, County Attorney.
Good morning. With the mild weather, there's a ton of stuff going on. We have 2 crews out doing some ditching. Got some culvert work going on. We did close Beaverdale Road this morning. I don't know if that got you. I can't remember. I think it's north of your place. We put out a press release. So I can dig that up before you leave so you know which way to go home. It'll be closed. Just depends on, there's a fiber line that's in there, and you never know for sure how that's gonna go working around fiber lines. So, right now it's out for 3 days, we're hoping it's more like 2. So that's culvert that's shot. We have another crew, we have a crew that's in, contractor that's in, we have a couple large diameter culverts that they're putting bottoms in with, concrete. We were just talking about that too, and that's going on as we speak, in the county. And, we just wrapped up a patching project on Bridgeport. We had a blow up here this last summer, and we finally are down there. We guys got it saw cut, removed, and we had a contractor come in and pour that back in. So that opened up this morning, and we're moving that crew down to Summer Street. We're gonna do a little bit of saw cutting down there and do some small patching down there and just keep taking advantage of the weather for the time being until it changes and kicks us out. So we did finish ditching on Beaverdale, and we are now moved out to Diamond and 160th. And that honestly shouldn't take all that long out there. And we'll just keep moving along until it decides to change, like I said. So lots of stuff going on. And we're working on bridge projects also, I might mention.
What section of Beaverdale's closed?
It is, here, I've got the release. Let me just grab it because I don't have it memorized exactly where that culvert is that they're doing. Pull it up, it's on the gravel road portion, it's not on the paved portion.
Links Road.
Is it north or south of Links? Becky says it's north of Links, and I believe her.
That works for me.
So, right here, it is, Beaverdale Road between 150th Street and Links Road. That press release went out,
YNX, Bob.
November 13th.
It's at the Hess place, just so you know.
Yeah, we're removing that driveway and that house and everything at the Hess location.
It's all because of the Nebraska sign. They
Yep,
made it.
there's got to be retribution for something like that, so. Anyway, point being is there's still a lot of activity for, approaching Thanksgiving, as scary as that seems to be that close, so. And I also am on pins and needles for our budget meeting, so.
Amen to that. All right then. Appreciate the heads up. Gentlemen, do we have any correspondence?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, that moves us on to discussion and vote. First, we have 5A, which is reimbursement claims in the amount of $691.29. Do I get a motion to approve? Second. Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Next, we have 5B. It's our third public hearing to amend wind ordinance number 62. I get a motion to open a public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing?
Second?
Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Whereas the Des Moines County Board of Supervisors adopted regulations for the siting of operation and wind energy conversion systems on July 18, 2023. Whereas in order to ensure consistency between ordinance number 62 and the proposed ordinance number 63, regulations for the siting and operation of solar farm energy systems, it's necessary to amend several specific passages, and then we've gone through these several times. Jared, would you like to address any of this?
Well, we've gone over it before. A basic gist of it is that we had adopted the wind ordinance this summer, and going over the solar ordinance and some subsequent work sessions, there were some additional items identified specifically for the solar ordinance, which, to ensure consistency between the two, we need to make some minor modifications to the wind ordinance as well. So a lot of these are specifically for that purpose. There were a couple that I had specifically identified in terms of what is and is not a participating property that I thought would maybe help clarify that going forward. Also, the distinction between the owner, operator, and developer of a wind farm, because those are oftentimes overlapping terms, but sometimes it refers to a specific period in the lifespan of the wind farm. So clearing that language up just makes that there's no room for error or misinterpretation of what that means. So I think they're all pretty straightforward changes, just making sure that they're consistent with one another once the solar ordinance is adopted, so.
Anybody from the audience have any questions, concerns? Michael?
Oh, big thumbs up. I like making them consistent. So people, what developers and owner-operators want is consistency and also know what they need to do. And so spelling that out and, even if it's difficult, if they can see it on paper, they know what they have to do to move the project forward. That's what they want, is really clear instructions.
Anyone else from the audience? Have we received any?
I have not received anything in the auditor's office.
Received anything as well?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve this third reading?
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Okay. Now it brings to 5C, it's our third public hearing to adopt solar ordinance number 63. Open public hearing.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell.
Yes. Whereas the Moines County Board of Supervisors acknowledges the potential that one or more utility-scale solar energy farms may be developed upon private property in Des Moines County, whereas other counties in Iowa and neighboring states have adopted ordinances to regulate the development of such solar farms, and the board recognizes the need to establish similar regulations for unincorporated Des Moines County. Whereas an ordinance has been prepared for the purpose of establishing a set of minimum standards for the siting, placement, construction, installation, operation, maintenance, and decommissioning of solar farm energy systems in order to protect the public health, safety, and community welfare of the residents of Des Moines County. So, that's what we're here for, that's what it's all about. Jared, anything you wanna touch on this?
Well, again, this is the second of the two ordinances for the alternative energy, large-scale utility farms in the county. So we adopted the wind ordinance back in July. This would essentially be the same type of thing, specifically for the purposes of the commercial utility-scale solar farms. So this wouldn't apply to just individual standalone solar installations if somebody wants to put one on their house or their farm just for powering that particular property. Those could be used to sell some excess energy to the power grid, but again, the purpose there is for serving that individual property. And in this particular ordinance is intended for the purpose of regulating those larger solar farms where there's oftentimes many acres of land involved and multiple landowners, so it's gonna have a significant impact on the surrounding area. So similar to a wind farm, we wanna regulate things like how far away from existing homes and businesses, as well as the process of installation in terms of using the road network, that those tend to be pretty intensive. Maybe not quite the same as with wind, with the size of the equipment involved, but still impactful. And then, of course, the decommissioning in terms of what making sure that there's a plan in place for once that equipment reaches the end of its useful life. So I think we've been back in with the board. We've had some very productive discussions on this over the past year as we've fine-tuned these different ordinances. And in the case of solar farm, I think we're at the point where everything is where it needs to be for establishing that. So I think we're in a good place to move forward. So I don't have anything else to add.
Anybody from the audience, comments, concerns, questions? Mike?
Is this the first reading of the new ordinance on the solar, or is this the third as well?
Third.
So both of them, third, thank you.
We did receive some comments from the utility provider last week, and that's they were generally in favor of how this ordinance had been set up. There was one specific recommendation reconsider something with the setbacks from road right of way. However, given the stage we're at in the process, we feel that that's something that we could certainly, again, we're in the process of amending it's already been amended earlier in the meeting today, the wind ordinance. So if that's something that, once we've had some time to look that over, if the county is interested in modifying that existing ordinance once it's established, that's always an option. But for the time being, I think we are where we need to be to at least initially adopt that ordinance.
Who's the provider?
It was Alliant. They were at the meeting last week.
Everybody satisfied? Did we receive anything from the auditor's office?
We did not.
Yes, sir, Mike?
So, because I messed up last week on the time and
And I forgot, would you give us your full name?
Yes, I'm Mike Carberry with Bright Future Iowa. I'm the outreach director. I live in Johnson County. Since I missed Justin Fawcett last week's meeting, I called him later and congratulated him on being elected to the school board in Linmar, and to see if he had any time for me. And he called me back a few days later, and he said he was, other than what Jared said on the setbacks from the roads, he said he was very, very happy. And of course, when he's happy, I'm happy. And so, thank you.
We're glad everybody's happy.
Motion to close the public hearing. Second.
Moved in second, Sarah Marie.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the third reading?
Move to approve the third reading of the public hearing for the sewer ordinance number 63. Second.
Moved in second, Sarah Marie.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes.
Jared, thanks for sending that update that you sent us last week after the meeting on that.
Yep. That, if the board is interested in pursuing that in the future, that's always an option, so.
Okay, moving along to 5D, it's an amendment to DCAT mental health wraparound contract. So Sarah, this is an amendment of the DCAT contract, which now includes all 13 counties within the Mental Health Agency of Southeast Iowa region. This amendment also includes an updated Medicaid rates for provider reimbursements. So once again, we need Shane to sign for Des Moines County. I have included 2 printed copies for the amendments, and so they will be signed and placed in our box. Says if Ken is in attendance, he could bring them back as well.
Yes, I will.
David.
Tammy's gonna stop by my office this afternoon, so if you approve this, I'll give them to Patty, and that way, even if I'm still at the budget hearings, Tammy will be able to pick them up this afternoon.
Was there anything you want to add to that as far as information, Ken?
No, I just asked, what this was about. She said she put a note with it, and just like you read, so I think it's just those Medicaid rates and adding the 13 counties sounds about right.
Motion to approve the amendment. Second.
Moved in second, Sarah Marie.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. 5E, we had pool, and we'll be moving on to personnel actions. I have one personnel action, it is for the Conservation Department. That's going to be as a conservation tech for the Conservation Department. That is for 8 hours of unpaid leave, effective 11/9/23. I get a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. For 5G, I have reports. One is the clerk's reports for fees collected as of October 2023, and then the other is sheriff's reports of fees collected October 2023. These will be on file in the auditor's office. You can view them at your discretion. Next, we have minutes for regular meeting on November 8th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. Then we have lastly is a special meeting minutes for November 13th, 2023. Can I get a motion to approve the special minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Sarah Marie?
Tom Broker?
Yes.
Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Shane McCampbell?
Yes. Okay, gentlemen, any other business?
I have none.
Future agenda items? Committee reports.
Well, I attended the mental health agency at Southeast Iowa meeting that Ken mentioned, and we're also trying to close out the books of the two separate, the Southeast Iowa Lincoln is at the Southern Iowa Behavioral Health, the other region, so that the state's involved, so there's several months worth of filings and book work, most of which is completed, but not all. That's all I have.
I have no committee reports, but I did attend a ribbon cutting this week at last week at Fun City Courts. It's a really nice addition to Des Moines County. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, you gotta go out and check it out. They've even got pickleball courts. You hit pickles against something, but anyways, it was just really nice to see just things happening all around us that just make this community even better, so. James?
I attended the Russ meeting last week, and due to our, Russ is going to take on Jefferson County now in the, for the environmental health department, so. And that's, they kind of took a good hint from what Des Moines County did when we did that Christmas, so. And they're looking forward to that. And then I did attend a fair board and a college meeting this morning. And let me tell you one thing about that before we get into what the meeting did. We had a fire call. There was a fire in the building, and that siren they got out there, I'm sure they was gonna clear the hospital out too, you know, because
Waking the dead.
Fire in the building. It was loud. But on the fair board meeting, the main topic, everything run real good there. In June 25, this might pertain to Angela, the Kennel Club is planning on having a dog show out of college.
Back out of college again, good.
What's that?
Back out of college again.
Yeah.
They've been there for 30 years and changed, so.
Yeah. And, so they're getting everything in line for that. They wanna use the campground, you know, so they get permit from the fair board to have campers come in for that. And, so it looks like it's gonna be a good thing to get that back. There's gonna be 400 plus dogs, several people around.
And there'll be a good 80 to 100 campers.
Yeah.
It'll be a good moneymaker for them.
Yeah.
Plus, we like to eat and drink, so do a lot of business around town. The only time I drink is when I'm with my dog show people.
But as far as that goes, everything's, fair board's going good and getting along good solid. That's all I have.
Okay. Now it brings us to public input. We would love to hear from you. Before I start the 2 minutes, I do recognize that we have Della Schmidt and Jeremy Hess with us. Did you guys have any comments?
Yes, sir. We expected to be on the agenda today to talk about partnering for the future. Do you want to cover that under other business, or do you wish to reschedule us?
I think we've covered that.
I didn't.
Go ahead, Bart, we've got time. This would be a good
We
time.
got time, go ahead.
Got a full house.
All right.
We'd love to hear it.
All right, I'll get started.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You bet. Can I use this table? Is that allowed?
For you.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I'm not in the right place.
I have never used a bathroom.
First time for everything.
Good morning, supervisors. Jeremy Hess, Director of Economic Development here at the Greater Burlington Partnership, along with my boss, Della Schmidt, President and CEO. So what we want to share with you a little bit today is talking about our next 5-year plan of work. As you may or may not know, we sit down at the end of that campaign, each 5-year segment, and get with our stakeholders, listen to people, and begin to put a plan together as to what does our community need moving forward for the next 5 years, and what can we help to address. And so, but before I do that, I wanna just take a minute and share with you where your investment in the last 5 years and what that turned into for Des Moines County and the Greater Burlington area. So basically in the last Partnering for the Future program, we've delivered a lot of great projects, but one of the things I can share with you is that we had to date, so far, over $109 million in private capital investment that was made in Des Moines County. There was $84 million in non-private or perhaps government-funded things. A lot of that stuff happened out at the ammunition plant, which, as you know, is a great employer in our community. So let me just give you just a few examples of what some of those projects were, and perhaps you'll recall them. So there was a $9 million expansion in equipment upgrades at Shears Foods in our community, so they continue to crank out all those cookies. $21 million in expansion at Silgan Containers. Now, the building didn't grow, but they added new machinery that's very expensive, so that they're up to making 6 million cans a day. A terrific employer that Des Moines County is lucky to have. We worked with KPI Industries to get a $4 million Manufacturing 4.0 grant so they can automate some of their processes out there and continue to employ people. So a couple of business attraction projects. So there was $27 million invested in the Western Smokehouse Meats building. I don't know if you all made it to the open house there or had a tour. I'd love to take you through it. Just took a very large building that had been making big dirty machines for a long time and turned it into a food grade facility, and it's amazing. So they're up at that's 145 jobs that they have filled out at Western Smokehouse Meats, and those folks live and work in our county and put kids in school and so forth. Not as big, but $2 million in deep root irrigation. They took a vacant building out at the former Raider site. And they are working on their automation. I'm a believer in this company. They are going to make West Burlington their global headquarters, if you will. Most of their product gets shipped to the West Coast or to overseas, but just a very unique company. It's kind of like a wine guard, if you will, starting in the garage and growing. Capital Baking Company, just right down here on Jefferson, they put in $6 million and have 40 jobs while they took that old bakery that was sitting vacant with really old equipment, and they've got it cranking bread and rolls and everything else out of there. Another recent one that you'll probably remember is the vacant building that was it's going to be Toba Foods, which is the former Aldi bakery, Aldi warehouse, if you will, right next to Shears. They expect to spend about $21 million on that facility, and they are going to have 150 jobs. It'll take them about 3 years to get there. So, you know, we've got the new Great River Medical Imaging Center. We've got to revitalize the old Walmart shopping center that's out there looking pretty ugly for the last, you know, however long, and that's humming along. So we talk about in this last 5 years, we have both the courts now that we saw the other day with pickleball and all that, but also the turf, what we all call the bubble around here, I guess, but the turf facility that brings thousands and thousands of people to our community every year. So these are some of the projects that the partnership, in some way, shape, or form, one division or another, had a hand in bringing those projects together. And so we've got a lot more work to do, but we've got I think you've made a good investment thus far. And today, what we're here to ask is that the county would continue to make that investment in our organization. There's just, quite simply, there's not another organization that does what we do. We do it with great pride. We love our community. I always remind everybody that there is no entity, there is no cavalry that's going to ride up over the hill and help us or save us from our issues and our challenges that face us. It is business, government, schools, and the partnership working together to address these so that we continue to thrive and so forth. And you know, I'll just add too that so my job, not primarily, but a large portion of it is these business attraction projects where we try and get a new business to come into our community and create jobs and so forth. And when I tour these folks in our community, I take them all over. It's so it just makes my job so much easier when we coming down this hill right here by the bridge, and well, there's orange cones everywhere, but they recognize orange cones as progress in construction and repair. But then they see the big Viking ship there, where they see 5 tour buses there. They see what's going on in our downtown, which, by the way, has 21 new businesses in our downtown area, over 51 million in downtown buildings, creating all these new upper story living apartments and so forth. So it just makes people, when they come, they're like, wow, there's a lot going on in our community, and we don't see that everywhere. So let's get into a little bit of the, Della, you can just pop up and elbow me anytime, because I can go on for hours.
You want me to, you gonna take the next part?
I'll take well, basically, you have the Partnering for the Future brochure in front of you, and what we want you to be aware of is that we've kind of boiled it down into 3 main initiatives for the next 5 years. That a lot of there's cross coverage in there, but number 1 is to grow our workforce. We all know that our workforce issues are a challenge to all of our employers, even here at the county, finding the right people. And so we have hired a new young lady. Her name is Talisha Fideli. She has been a West Burlington teacher for a number of years, and she is just an incredibly sharp individual who's going to lead our talent attraction and our workforce development programs. She speaks the language of both schools and business, so sometimes that needs translation, because schools sometimes move at a different pace than business. Business gets 1 million pounds of sausage in one end, and they want to make 1 million pounds of hot dogs out the other end in one day. And sometimes getting lot of these entities to understand how business works is a challenge. So she is going to be highlighting our efforts there, and it's really in two buckets. So we've got a lot of work to do on both the current workforce. How do we attract people here? How do we upskill our current employees to be ready for the jobs that they're changing into? And then what we call the emerging workforce. How do we get young students, young people who are in our schools, understanding the pathways to great jobs that are right here in Des Moines County, and to pique their interest and get them on the right path to be able to fill those jobs for the future. Of course, we'll always continue our job growth. We've seen these new businesses come in the food industry, and we've added 300 plus jobs. But then sometimes we've seen in the past, like a GE or a Siemens, these are global companies that come in and they're just moving pieces around on a chessboard, and they can make some decision somewhere overseas and poof, there goes 200 jobs, as we've seen with some of these companies. So we always have to continue to do the job creation and the business attraction model, and we will robustly do that. One of the things we are pursuing, and one of our goals is to, out there at the former Raider site, is to, there's 36 acres that we control, but there's also another 36 acres that is currently cleaned up and unused. And we foresee a potential for a West Burlington Industrial Park. As you know, our industrial park in Flint Ridge is filling up quite quickly. We've got some projects that are likely to land there already, so we need to be planning for the next 5 years, in 10 years, where we're gonna have, because if you don't have a site, then you really don't have anything, and a site is not just a cornfield somewhere. It's got to have utilities, it's got to have infrastructure and so forth, and roads. So recognizing that. Moving on to our second initiative is to grow business. Della, I should just stop and let you go.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sir.
I'm really poor at pronouns. Who's we?
Greater
Who's-
Burlington
When you say
Park.
we want to do this.
Greater Burlington Partnership.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, I've got one, thank you, Jeremy.
Step aside, sorry.
That's okay. On that point, I want to just take a half a step back. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey talks about, the debt-free scream on his radio shows. When we pull together board members and community stakeholders and our investors to start talking about what do we need to accomplish over the next 5 years to help our Des Moines County area and the communities within it. Our approach was to say, of our 4 divisions under the umbrella of the Greater Burlington Partnership, what is each division going to bring toward each initiative? And so that's why you see in this brochure 3 distinct buckets of thought: grow population, grow business, grow workforce. That commissioners, as you kind of read through the bullet points contained in there, you'll pick up on, oh, that's the part that the Grow Greater Burlington Economic Development is going to contribute to. Here's where Main Street Downtown Partners is going to contribute. Here's what the chamber or the tourism is going to do. The other thing is that these 3 things hang together. One doesn't happen in isolation of the other. So as we work on growing our workforce and growing our population, we will grow our businesses. As we help our businesses grow, it helps create jobs, which helps us grow our population. So these 3 initiatives are meant to be interconnected and are meant to succeed together, not in isolation of one another. We do see under the grow business portion, which is where Jeremy left off, great emphasis on continuing to market Des Moines County and the Greater Burlington area as the regional center that it is. People come here for their education, people come here for their healthcare, people come here to shop. And so we plan to continue to invest a lot in advertising and marketing, both on traditional advertising vehicles as well as social media and the like, in order to continue to draw people in. Tourism goes hand in hand in that. We continue to see an increase, a nice trajectory on tourism. One of the things that we are investing in beginning next year is an independent third-party consultant coming in to do a market rate study to determine capacity on our hotel rooms, to determine if there might be an opportunity to grow our offerings in the lodging industry. So we have several folks who are looking forward to seeing the results of that. The other thing that we want to make sure that we're building on, in addition to our local events, is our amenities. We have a lot of trails throughout Des Moines County. I've had the privilege of working closely with Chris Lee, and there is so much opportunity to do more. Better signage, better connectivity, better collaboration between the cities and the county on connecting these trails. Not only does that increase quality of life and make us a better place that people will want to live, but it also assists with tourism. So we kind of get two wins for one there. And that kind of leads me to grow population. Not just Des Moines County, but Iowa has a population problem. I've heard the governor speak about it. I've heard Debbie Durham and Iowa Economic Development Authority speak about it. When we look at the states around us, particularly Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, they have seen population growth that Iowa has not seen. And there are more open jobs, not only here, but throughout the state of Iowa than there are people who are of the right age and skill set and just bodies to fill those jobs. So we must be intentional about stabilizing and growing our population trend. A huge sticking point for that is housing. You'll see that as our first bullet point under that initiative. We must work together on solving the housing challenge, and we know there's headwinds, right? There's the higher interest rates, there's the cost of materials, there's the workforce shortage, but those headwinds should not prohibit us from putting our shoulder to the issue and working hard at it. So we are going to be forming a 5-year housing committee. Last year, we did complete, with your support, a housing study, and out of that housing study came some very specific recommendations. So we're gonna bring a housing committee together. The chamber board is going to be approving the scope of that housing committee at their December board meeting. And we've asked Mike Norris at Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Commission to chair that initiative. So those are some of the things that we're doing there. We're going to be doing a lot around morale and civic pride and community pride. We think our organization is best positioned to lead that, but there is so much happening in this community. As Mr. McCampbell referenced at the court side and the court's grand opening, the community and the county is bedazzled. I love that line, I'm gonna be using it for a while. And we need to do more to help our broader community, our residents, our citizens, talk with great pride and enthusiasm about this place that we all call home. And that is infectious, and it starts to get out everywhere, and that will help us grow and stabilize our population. And then we have downtown Burlington, as Jeremy already articulated, significant investments have happened there. There's more queued up for the next couple of years. The city of Burlington is wrapping up the Tiger Project down Jefferson. It's kind of in front of you folks right now. But we can see the end, and what we want to make sure is that we're capitalizing on that and capitalizing on the new downtown It's Happening brand, and making sure that our downtown and our Convention and Visitors Bureau continue to work closely together. One of the things I like to say up in our organization when people ask, about our divisions and what we all do, and I sum it up simply with this: it's all economic development. It's all economic development. Tourism, Main Street, our Chamber of Commerce, and what Jeremy does with bringing in those large companies and those large employers and helping our current employers overcome challenges. It's all economic development. So we thank you for your past investment, and we ask you to consider maintaining or potentially even increasing that investment. I know you're going into budget conversations, so that might be a tough ask, but nonetheless. Do you have any questions for Jeremy or I?
Not a question, I just think you guys do a fantastic job. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last little flyer in there, by the way, was, we do have the challenge ahead of us and an opportunity with the ammunition plant expansion. We have already, Della and I meet regularly with not only the base commander, but the other key individuals out there. And then we've already convened our first, what we call summit, where we try and get answers directly from them as to when to expect this and that, and where you're gonna stage this and that. And so we want to position ourselves as a community to, number one, take the most advantage of this investment. Not only is it going to be great long-term, as we're going to have a great employer there, but all these folks coming in from out of town, these workers, how can we, I always say, make hay while the sun's shining, but at the same time work with law enforcement and others to make sure it's a smooth operation, it goes well. But at the same time, we also want to do what we can to make our community what I call sticky, so that, these are a lot of tradespeople that are coming in with skills. I hope and we want to be intentional about it, that they would see our community, see the low cost of living, low traffic, a great place that has all the amenities that they might need, and they would stay. We saw a number of people at the fertilizer plant stay when they came to Southeast Iowa. And so we're going to be intentional about that, but we are going to be convening, we'll have the ammunition plant personnel, and then maybe focus on food service, so people with food trucks and this and that and the other thing, food, how can we take advantage of that? Then we'll have another one on housing. That's going to be a key issue, as to where we're going to park all these people while they're here, because it's slated to be a 3 or 4 year project. So we want to put our best foot forward, learn our lessons from what we saw at the fertilizer plant, but also make the most of it while they're here. So I just want to throw that in. So thanks. Happy to take any questions. So.
It should be noted, we did have an initial meeting recently with the Iowa Army Ammunition Plant, American Ordnance folks and the Army, and I'm trying to remember, Mr. Broker, were you there?
I was there, the sheriff was there, the county engineer was there.
We had several folks in this room, but one of the big takeaways that we got from that is we'll start to see an impact about that project in 2024, probably late summer, early fall. But the real impacts is when everybody's like, when are we gonna feel it? When are we gonna know something is happening out there? We're told to expect that more in 2025, 2026, potentially rolling over into 2027. So we've got a year to get ready for the bigger impact that's coming, and that's an important year for us to all work together and get ahead of some things. All right, well, thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Nice job, Chairman.
Your Honor.
I got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Bob is antsy. Have you got one of these for him?
Yes, Will. Yep. I don't want you antsy over there.
Thanks, Dan. He's bouncing around here. I just know that's what he wants.
Do you happen to have a new laptop?
Yeah.
Bob needs a new one.
His laptop's sitting on my desk and they're squealing.
So, all right, thanks again for coming down, that was good information. Now we're going to go into public input. I'm gonna have Jimmy set the clock, but we'd love to hear from you. If you would like to call, you could call us right now at 319-753-8203, extension 4. Again, that is 319-753-8203, extension 4. Or you can email us at board, BOARD, @dmcounty.com. That is BOARD @dmcounty.com. We'd love to hear from you. Jim's gonna start the clock at 2 minutes, and we're going to hear you out while we're waiting. Is there anybody else have anything to add?
I wanted to mention, because I forgot it earlier, that we got notified yesterday afternoon by the railroad that they're gonna do a bunch of work on crossings in Des Moines County over the next, I wanna say next week, roughly, starting today, I believe, in Burlington. I know that there was something on the radio, so some folks in Burlington got notified. We just took their list, threw it into a press release and threw it out just to try to give people a heads up that those closings are gonna happen. From what it looked like, they're only gonna be a day or two, some of them shorter. Not a project of ours, but sometimes the railroad doesn't reach out very well. So since we got notified, we went ahead and threw it out there to let other people know.
Main
So,
Street's closed off right now.
yeah, I know that they're starting in Burlington, but they're gonna work their way on to Danville and past Danville. So on that list, there's crossing numbers, so otherwise people who call Burlington Northern double check. But I wanted to throw that out there because it's not our baby, but sometimes we're the only way that it gets out there, so we just thought we'd put it out there.
Brian, I need to ask you, did you enjoy this last presentation?
It was great.
It was great. Now, I expect your 5-year program to be like that.
I can't match. Yeah, Jeremy has energy for
Nope,
days
listen,
and Della is
everybody's
just
paid
Della.
for theirs.
There
When
is-
you get yours, everybody
there is-
clears out.
There is no matching these two. No matching.
Not by you, but anyways.
Well, I appreciate watching somebody else try. I certainly am not in their class.
How many people would have stayed here if Brian would have been doing this? 5 years?
Nobody. Don't even bother raising your
Not a
hand.
hand went up?
What's really sad is you guys always make the announcement, you can leave if you want.
Yeah. Well, they're leaving either way.
So, yeah.
She's saying that,
Like,
not
it's
really
permission.
good to say.
We just don't wanna get beat up from you people. That's why we let you leave.
Some of us can't leave by choice.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yes, Village Beth.
Say, I'm very curious, have you each had the opportunity to go out and watch the new rail cam that has been, it's up on a YouTube channel, and
Yeah.
when you mentioned railroad, there are thousands and thousands of people that are dialing into the new rail cam that's up on the Port of Burlington building. And it's watching all of the railroad and the boats coming through and the bridge changes. It's amazing, the traction that we're getting on
Gets
that.
close-ups too. I saw you
Yeah.
take your nails the other day, Brian. Nice move. Next time use a Kleenex. Anyways.
Is that on YouTube?
Yes, yes. It's a greater Burlington rail cam.
With a KL.
I did
What's
get
it
on
called?
YouTube and watch.
Greater Burlington Rail Cam.
Yeah. You can also
Now I
link to
had
it from our
fire.
website.
When we was over in Maui, I got on them. Found out about them cameras they got, you know, and so when they had their fire over there, I'd send them home in the evening till one of them burned up. I guess it went bad.
Anyways.
We're gonna modify it with a speed camera, Sheriff, so just so you know, you can rack up some tickets.
Michael.
Yeah, Mike Carberry, Bright Future, Iowa. I think now that you've passed your solar and wind ordinance, you're not gonna see me for a while. So I wanted to thank you, the board and Jared and everybody else for all your hard work. It hasn't been easy, but I've enjoyed coming down. Your meetings are, like I said last week, a little bit entertaining and a little bit funny. But I mean, life is serious, but you don't have to be deadly serious about it, right? So I enjoy coming down here. My door is always open. You guys know how to get a hold of me, so does Jared. I'm not sure if you're looking at a battery electric storage ordinance or if that's incorporated into it, but that might be something that a lot of counties are looking at, because we all know that the wind doesn't blow all the time and the sun doesn't shine only like half the day or something, I've been told. That sometimes storing that energy for peak times is something that a lot of utilities and developers are looking into. So, again, thank you for all your hard work. I've enjoyed coming down here, and I look forward to my next visit. Thank you.
Come back and visit us anytime, Michael.
I love that.
You're welcome in Des Moines County anytime.
There's some great restaurants in your downtown area.
You do.
You really, really do. So I do enjoy my visits here.
Anything else? Thomas? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Have a good week.
Jeremy, I think you're driving around tonight. The closure is south of your drive.
Okay, we're here for a work session with the county auditor regarding elections, and I'll turn it over to Sarah Murray.
So we just kinda wanted to touch base and see how things went, what people thought were, things we could change upon in the office, things that, how the flow went, things we need to get fixed as far as like our scanners and things like that go for the election. So we just kinda wanted everyone's input, to see how they felt things went, anything we could do different, anything you wanna learn different, and things like that. So one thing we discussed, our laptops are super slow. So we are going to look at purchasing new laptops for next year. I don't think we're gonna be able to get them in time for the presidential, because we're gonna look at bonding for them, I believe.
How many laptops you gonna get?
What did I say, 40, 45?
Something like that, 40, I think.
Yeah.
What do they cost?
So, 9 to 1,200 is what I think you.
I'd say about $1,200 is probably.
For $50,000.
But our laptops are all super slow, and we've had issues with them, so that's one thing we wanna look at, replacing. Not everyone's scanners in the office work, so I think we'll start with purchasing 2 scanners so that we can see if they work well, because 4 of them currently do. So we discussed purchasing 2 of them, using them for the next like 3 to 4 months to see how they work with the computers that we have. And then, maybe getting some additional if those work, so that we can have other stations up to the presidential. Because for the
Did the
presidential.
Secretary of State's office ever get back to you?
Yeah, so she basically said they didn't have a list, but Canons are the best brand. But then she also kept going back to how they're gonna change iVoters. So she wouldn't say anything until the end when I finally was like, okay, do you have a time frame at all? They're not gonna redo iVoters till 2025. So it's gonna be after the presidential, and we have to have scanners and everything available for the presidential. There's no way that we cannot have, I mean, at least all of our computers being able to scan, let alone some extras for people that are gonna be helping with the election, cause it's gonna be busy. We talked with you already about the laptop, like when you first pull it up and the password that's on the front or whatever, and how it says iVoters. Some of the precinct officials were confused about that because they know they're not supposed to be in iVoters. But we already talked with you about changing the name of that.
Yeah, I can change it to whatever we want. It's,
Yeah.
it's always been set to that. It's always been set
Yeah.
to iVoters.
Well, I don't think they've ever seen that because they've never had to put a password in right there. So when it comes up, they've never seen it.
They've always had a
It's-
password
Yeah, they've had
Always.
passwords logged in, yeah.
there. Yeah. Must be just new people there that didn't understand it.
Not those big long ones.
It was
Yeah.
always, there was always something that they had to log into the computer first. It's always been that way.
Okay, well, they were all confused by that, I guess, so I don't know what changed with them being confused by it, but
Maybe because they're longer.
yeah, I don't know. I don't remember ever putting in the big long one. I always remember just it coming
It's
up
about
and then,
5 years ago or whatever, I think, is, the state's office recommended we put better passwords on there. So
Okay.
I set that up with Terry. But yeah,
but the big long ones, I don't remember having those last year.
yeah.
Okay, well, they were confused by it this year.
I tried to simplify it a little bit actually to make, well, I don't wanna give too much information on what I give away, but
Right,
it makes
Right.
it
Yep.
a little easier simplifying for the password.
Yep.
But
Yep. We discussed the binders and stuff for their bags, simplifying things, making things a little bit easier, because they discussed with me that, there's several binders in the bags, they don't ever know which binder to go to or which folder to use. I mean, we can reiterate to them 100 times which ones to use, but if simplifying things is always a good thing to do. We discussed on election day with the auditor's office staff having access to all the passwords and stuff, especially the runners who are going to each precinct, so they know what passwords are, and the contact information for the precinct officials so that we can access that. Getting a tote with extra supplies in it so that we, maybe one for each of our vehicles, so that if we're running from precinct to precinct, we don't have to keep coming back to the courthouse to get stuff. But I would like to get a tote with extra supplies in it, especially for the presidential, so that they all have extra toner, paper, pens,
How many runners
all
do
of
you
that
have?
stuff. well, it's usually just me, Chandra, and Cheryl, but if we have to, Carla or Sue or whoever steps out whenever they need to. Angie usually stays in the office to man the phones and stuff, but it just depends on
So
who
you
calls
want
and
at least
needs
four,
stuff.
at least 4 totes then, is that what you're saying?
Well, I just think if we have something in our vehicle to take with us for that day, so that way, I mean, there were several times that I was up in Yarmouth and that I had got calls to come back this direction, they were somewhere, so it's like that I'd have to come back here to get it, then go somewhere else, just so it's on hand, so it's easier to get it to them on time, so they have it. But for the precincts, for sure, because they're gonna run out of ink, they're gonna run out of paper, they're gonna run out of things throughout the day. So they have plenty of it, and it's not gonna fit in their little bags they have.
I'm putting that inside the black box.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for the presidential, they're gonna need something, like, 2 or 3 extra toners and paper and all sorts of extra stuff, cause it's gonna be, busy. But other than that, any input from anyone else in the office? Cheryl?
I thought something that went really well was the Secretary of State's Where Do I Vote?
Yes, that's a huge.
That went really well. I think, you know, the office using that instead of the paper list is a huge improvement.
I agree.
So, got that as one of my favorites now.
So for those who don't know what she's talking about, the Secretary of State's office has a link that you can go to find out where your precinct is. So I shared it on our Facebook page, and, but anybody that calls in, we can just pull up the website, put their address in, and it tells you exactly what precinct they're at. Before, we used to have a list, and we'd have to search the list by their address, so yeah,
Is that available on the county website?
it is.
Yeah, that I like.
I liked your idea about removing the middle divider, even though it was amazing for COVID.
I didn't hear you, Cheryl.
The middle divider that we put up at the counter, more times than not, people come in as a married couple, and they come in to just one side together, so you have to ask one of them to please step around the divider and go to the other side, so Sarah had suggested that we just remove that for the next election, so that people just come up to the counter and it's open. So, I mean, it served its purpose, it was great during COVID, it kept people from sneezing and coughing on each other, but,
Anything confusing will be, that we can get rid of,
Well, our hallways aren't very big as it is, and especially for the presidential, you're gonna have a ton of people in the hallway. So we thought for the presidential, maybe set up a table downstairs in the basement where people can come in and fill out their forms to get a ballot down there. And then that way they don't have to sit up here in the hallway and do it. For those who don't come in through the basement, we'll have a table at the top of the stairs, then they can fill out their form there. And then we're gonna try to utilize like a circle to where they can start down here to get their ballots at the recorder's windows and then work their way this way. So it goes in a circle instead of people waiting at the counter and then going and filling out their forms. Or half the time they don't read the sign to fill out their form before they come to the counters, and they're waiting in line to ask us what to do, and then we tell them to go fill out a form, and then they wait in line again, and then they wait in line again to turn it back in. So just have a flow of things so it runs a lot smoother and the hallways aren't as congested. So we're working on figuring out a nice flow for that, but we have some ideas.
Have you heard any more from the state about possibly getting grants for those laptops?
I got an email this morning and I have not, she said it was, I didn't get a chance to look at the link because I just looked up before the meeting. For purchasing e-poll books, but not tabulators and electronic accessible equipment. So, she told me to reach out to Wes with questions because Heidi's leaving, so she answered my email finally.
What's the books or whatever, what's that?
I don't know what she means by e-poll book.
That's what our laptops are, that's what they're considered.
Okay, so
Those
a
and
laptop.
I think it also covers the all-in-ones, correct, the tablet all-in-ones?
The ones that we use for an office, you mean?
No, some of the other counties use those
Like the lap,
all-in-ones.
or the,
tablet ones or whatever?
Yeah, they're like tablets.
Yeah, that's kind of
Super tablet.
yeah. So,
confusing, saying, but no electronics.
Right, that's why I was like, I don't know what she means by that. So maybe I can reach out to Wes and see if we can get a grant for those laptops instead of, I know Terry did once, what, 5 years ago? Something like that.
I think it was longer than that ago. I know we made some minor upgrades to them, a few years back that really helped the speeds, but they've already, we need to replace them. They're
Right.
stretched to the limit.
Mhm.
The state made a bunch of changes, obviously on their system for how, those laptops are used. Long story short, the software that's installed on them is much more demanding than they were before. Now, when laptops boot up, you kinda have to wait a minute or so to make sure that everything starts up on those laptops before they can even be used. But anyways, they really need to be replaced, so.
Yeah.
I was kinda hoping we could make sure we got those replaced before the presidential election.
Yeah, so I'll see what Wes says about that grant and then go from there, cause if we can do the grant, then maybe we can get them before.
But let me know if you don't get it. I will reach out to Rinker Taylor Collins. And that's, I would just bet they've got ARP money left over.
Okay.
And they have to be concerned about next year's election. I think everybody's gonna be.
Yeah.
But I would, so let me know what they say about that.
Okay.
Well, from using the front desk during the absentee process, so not only are those laptops slow to start up, but both Angie and I experienced problems when you clicked on the button where after you asked the person if they needed assistance and you clicked to continue, it would freeze up. So that meant that if the poll worker gets in a panic and shuts it down and starts it back up, now it's really frozen, and it can take up to 10 minutes for it to get rebooted.
Is that just because the laptops,
Are
it's
so
an old
slow.
laptop or something, or slow?
Yeah, they're slow. So that means we were struggling with sometimes only having one laptop up at a time. Now, which that wasn't that big of a deal this time around, but it will be
Yeah,
during the
next year will
presidential.
be huge.
They're a little slow, and just the way that the state has made changes for the way, that software is used. Much more software is ran on the local offline laptops than were before, so there's a bit more demand on them. The only fix for that is if we switch it to online, but that brings a whole other host of problems that,
Is their software the only one we can use?
the state.
Yeah, is Precinct Atlas the only one available?
Yeah.
Is it?
As far as I'm.
Okay, well, we had looked at stuff when we've been up at, ISAC, and there was like they were tablets, and then they had like, instead of a big printer, they had just like mini, like label printers, and they just had like a little bitty scanner there, and it was one small little setup, but we thought that was a whole different system other than Precinct Atlas that you had to use with that. Okay.
Just different hardware that runs Precinct Atlas?
Probably, yes.
Okay, well, that might be worth checking into, because they're touchscreen for one thing.
Like you literally faced it towards you, you clicked on a button, you scanned your ID, clicked on the thing, and then signed, and then everything printed out on that sticker. It was the simplest process possible.
Problem with tablets are typically quite a bit slower than laptops. Not to say it won't run over
Right.
or whatever, but, you can get touchscreen laptops, just a little more costly.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think, what was it, 18 of them that I priced, and it was like 65,000, but that was for the scanner.
That's for that all-in-one system.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get a laptop with touchscreen for about 2,000, a little over 2,000, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I think just simplifying things for the poll workers too, but they all did great. We have a lot of great poll workers that are a huge help.
What do we, the meeting yesterday, there's only one ballot that was set on top that was rejected, and apparently it had been double voted and the voter walked away before it kicked it back out and it was set on top. What can we do to address that ballot?
I think they try to keep an eye on, but I think they just need to stare at it basically while people are voting to make sure that or putting it in there so they can make sure that it doesn't kick it back out. But we can't have somebody that stands right next to it all day long. You're supposed to be a little bit of a distance away from it, so you're not seeing their ballot as they're putting it in. But just paying attention when they're putting it in, making sure it's not kicking it back out, and that there's not people standing directly behind them, so that that person behind them doesn't grab it if it does.
Maybe we get a sign or something on them, just, that tells them to wait, to make sure that
Yeah.
it doesn't, I'm just.
Pointed out to the, the training session that this has
Yep.
happened.
Yep.
Maybe a sign, that might not be. but the-
Might not be a bad idea to
by
put a
the-
sign on it.
By the
This is-
scanner, if, count to 2, and if it doesn't, whatever.
Yeah, cause it does take a second to accept it, and so some people just think, oh, it sucked it in, it's good to go, and then they walk away, and.
We'll just have to kind of really hit that pretty hard next time.
Yep.
To refresh their memory of it kicks back out, doesn't mean it's a spoiled ballot. Means
Right.
There's a ticket there, you need to read what it is, and then push it back through and let it accept it.
Right. And I think they thought, well, we'll just spoil it because it was sitting on the thing and
The voter's gone.
the voter was
They were-
gone.
they were-
So in their mind, they're like, well, we're gonna spoil it. Well, it's not spoiled, it's still a active ballot that needs to be counted, so that's why we had to do the recount yesterday. But, other than that, I think, we just need to work together as a team like we continue to do, and I think we all do great.
So it sounded like
Keeping
some
up on our
signage, some
primary.
equipment.
Huh?
I said it sounded like signage, some equipment.
Yeah.
And, I do like the idea of the drive-through. And that's how they made the drive-through faster with the 2 stops, so it
Oh.
keeps it moving. So maybe that downstairs thing will help out quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Cause during the presidential, it's gonna be huge.
It is.
I got nailed when I went to vote,
Mhm.
big time. Her main concern was she wants a handout from every meeting.
Yeah, we discussed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did have
So
handouts for
they
the
go
first
back
2,
and-
I did not for the 3rd one, but everything's in their binders, so it's in there, but,
Well, I know she, and
Yeah.
that was a broad binder, where do I look for sure?
yeah.
Yeah.
But that was another thing that I heard from several of them was, well, you say it's in the binder, which binder is it in?
Yeah.
And then they're looking in this binder, looking for passwords when that's instructions, so they need to look in this binder, and so I think we're gonna look at getting a bigger binder and simplifying everything and making tabs in there for, this is what you do for your OVO machine, this is your OVI machine, here's your instructions for precinct atlas, your passwords, those kind of things, so everything's all in one, so they don't have to go to 4 different ones, so.
I got a little different perspective on this one. None of my input will be particularly important, but I helped in some different areas from other times in the past, from when you and I end up exchanging some stuff.
Yes.
The communication seems to be huge.
It is
I sat there, I got there right at 8 when they closed, and I just sat quietly in the corner and watched a close relative of mine and 3 other ladies that were brand new, kind of go through the process of closing down. It seems, my mom had done it before, the other
Right.
3 had not. I can't speak to all the other experiences or who was at the other venues, but I think they would have struggled mightily. I was surprised how much my mom actually recalled from previously doing it. That experience helped them because they were bouncing between books, trying to figure out passwords, I don't know what does this, one machine, I don't know what they were. I just sat back and didn't say a word because I wasn't part of the process. That if my mom had come up for it, they were gonna have to call somebody or something. But one of the things I noticed was at least 2 of them, Kingston and Yarmouth, having a cell phone signal. And communication, I know you can't do anything about that because that's the facility.
Right.
But I think you almost have to do something about that because communication's a killer.
Yep.
And so I don't know what to do about that, but I wanted to mention that because I even tried to get ahold of you. I'm guessing you were at Kingston and I've been there, so I understand between that and going into that building, you just don't typically have cell phone
Right.
signal. So I guess I wanna mention that, this is, I'm gonna go to something specific, on my end, which I took care of on my end. But I'll go with a couple things. First of all, my mom was in the afternoon training session.
Mm-hmm.
She absolutely loved that training session compared to the past. Just from what I didn't ask, she brought it up, so that meant she really loved it. She said it was shorter, and it was to the point, it was detail filled, but it didn't drag out. And she's not interested in being somewhere for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
And half on to sleep, because it's slow, dragged out, you're just listening to somebody monotone. So I don't know how many sessions you had and all that, I don't know who did it, but I'm just telling you that apparently compared to the past, she thought it was a much better, more efficient use of time and chock full of everything they needed, so.
She hasn't said it in any of your meetings, has she?
No, she's not invited. I'm gonna go a little bigger picture here, this is my opinion of your office. I think the only way a successful office functions is with great employees, and I think you have that. But I'm gonna go on top of that, I think the only way it functions is for there to be one leader and one pivot on the whole thing. And so you're the auditor, in my opinion, and you're responsible for this.
Right.
I feel like you guys gotta come up with a better way for everybody to see what everybody's doing and for you to know what everybody's doing. Like, I mean, down, and during this election, down to everything, you know? I think you gotta come up with an app, or a text group, where everybody just throws a note in for what they're doing. Hey, I'm running the precinct, whatever, or gotta call somebody's whatever. And all that is in one spot for you, or Cheryl, or Chandra, or whoever. And then, of course, the backups, you're all working as a team.
Right.
But it all needs to be somewhere, because I have sat down here and helped, and it is crazy, and we all know next year will be even crazier. And having that somewhere to where at least you can scroll through and catch up when, you know, when you're busy at a precinct trying to reset a computer, you're not looking at your phone because you're focused, and then you can go back to it, or when you get signal, they come through. I know I'm in a situation right now where we've started using it's using WhatsApp, which I've never used before, but supposedly it's completely secure. Colin, I'm sure, can comment on that one way or the other. So I don't know anything about it, and you guys know that. But my point is to me, the communication has to be better, and I guess, I don't mean this bad, the leadership's gotta be better. That's just my opinion. I think both of those can be improved. Communication's almost more important, but.
Yeah, so, and I talked a little bit with Cheryl the other day, I'd like to sit down with Chandra and Cheryl and go through the process. Obviously, I'm still new at doing the process from start to finish, because Terry would always just be like, hey, do this part, or whatever, and Chandra is as well, so I'd like to sit down and do a checklist for each, like, from the very beginning, when you have to start putting out notifications for things, when you have to start getting your candidate papers, just do like a checklist for each thing, so we know which step, and then that way we can all go back to it and say, okay, we're on this process right now. I get pulled away from things 100 times a day, so it's hard for me to just say, okay, well, I'm in the middle of doing this, don't come talk to me, kind of a thing. So that way that we can communicate and know where we're at on what. So I'd like to put a checklist together. We have our notes, all of our binders with instructions and stuff, so I'd like to put a checklist together so we know what's done, what we're working on, work together, both of us one-on-one on getting things done.
But I think the communication thing too is, during it actually happening, I think you're gonna find some efficiencies to be gained there. I mean, just you and I, trying to communicate on where we were going. When we were, because if you're leaving, you get something fixed in Yarmouth.
Right.
And you get a message on this from everybody saying, Danville just called and they've got a problem.
Right.
You can immediately get on and say, I'm already on the road, I'll go straight to Danville. And somebody would stay in the auditor's office instead of just
leaving.
deadheading straight out of the auditor's office and you not knowing. I think
Right.
I think that's something you need to look at, and that way you're all on the same page. Or Chandra's somewhere helping somebody and she can say, hey, I'm about wrapped up, I'll get that. And it's
Right.
I think you're gonna take some stuff that's taken 2 or 2.5 people and thin it down.
Right.
And plus, then everybody knows where everybody's at, because there's the other problem, is it's kind of a safety issue. And
Right.
you don't wanna think about that, but if you know where somebody's going, then if you can't get a hold of them, and I think we had a can't get a hold of somebody, I don't remember what it was, but the last time I helped downtown, I think there was a, no cell phone signal or something like that.
Well, I have a chair that has no cell phone signal, and she works at Oak Street. So it's hard to communicate with
In
her.
town here.
Yeah, so a lot of times she'll call from somebody else's, like a PEO, and use their phone. Some reason whoever she's got, just even being in town, it's hard to communicate with her.
Yeah, and see, I don't know what the answer to that is. Actually, Colin would also be far better versed in that, or Tom, but
Thank
either
you.
way. To me, if you can't get a hold of them, you got problems.
Right.
I don't,
Right.
even if it's a landline, there's,
Yeah.
you got, or two-way radio in Burlington or something. Maybe you can do portable CBs, I don't know what it is.
Right,
But
something.
you
that
cannot be out of communication with the outer parts of your hub that are literally the boots on the ground, that are volunteers.
How many do you need? And do we got old walkie-talkies or something like that, the sheriff's department?
I don't know.
We can-
Actually, I was thinking of a radio for those two.
I don't know, I just feel like there's at least gotta be something where, can you step outside and give me a call on the cell phone? Because they're not getting it. There's just gotta be something there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
What's, I'm gonna embarrass myself for a couple minutes yet. When I watch TV, they've got these berms, I don't know what they cost, so that you have one phone, cause if you're Sarah and you're getting texts or messages on 3 or 4 different, to go through there, but if you have one phone, it's just for election, and everybody in the auditor's office had one, maybe you want one at every precinct, I don't know, but so that's what that phone is for.
Yep, you still run into the issue with cell phone reception in certain
Yeah.
areas. At the certain precincts where there's no, either limited cell phone reception, or no cell phone reception, I could put repeaters in there and try to boost the signal a little bit. It's just gonna depend on what provider, those in that area have. The other option of that is we have internet-based phones, so if there's internet at that building, or I could just put a hotspot out there, and we just set one of our phones out there, and you just pick it up
Okay.
and call, we can do something like that.
That would be good.
I can do just about anything with the proper amount of funding. You know what I mean?
I asked what those.
It's in order.
But-
You can do whatever you want.
But if you've got a place that doesn't have cell phone signal, I know the sheriff's office, and they've got fancy radios, whether there would be one of those that,
You could do that too.
you could have at a place like
Yeah.
Kingston, and just for that particular,
The other issue would be, depending on where it's at, like Yarmouth might be a great example. I don't know if they really got much for towers out there for radio. So if they're inside of a brick building or whatever, out in Yarmouth, you might still honestly have an issue with the radios along with the cell phone reception, but.
We have a radio system, and ours works in Yarmouth. I mean, it could be such a thing where maybe our
It's
work
something we
radio,
can
I don't know how that works, but somehow, I don't know. I wanna bring up the communication point, because I saw that firsthand. I know we were trying to get a hold of my mom, and her phone was having issues anyway,
Right.
but I couldn't get a hold of you, cause you were Kingston.
Yep.
Yarmouth, my phone was dead, so that's how I know that there's no signal in that building, plus I've had meetings in there. And those are just 2 that I have experience with. I'm sure there's other issues.
How many handhelds you got?
Hardly any anymore. I mean, we just don't use anymore. I mean, in our handheld struggle at certain, we do have a few, but certain, I don't know what the answer is. There's time to figure it out, but just not having a link there is crazy to me.
Yeah, if we have a few precincts where we absolutely can't get cell phone coverage, I mean, I can do some testing, we can do something to put out there,
Okay.
either, try to get some temporary phones, cause like I said, we have the benefit now, of our phones being, more cloud internet based, so all I gotta do
Okay.
is get a connection out there, either with a hotspot, or if there's local internet there as well, we can just tap into that way there's a phone there on the desk, it's always active, that way if they're trying to use their cell phones, they can just pick the phone up and call the office.
Okay.
I agree with Brian, safety purposes.
Yeah,
You
for
gotta
sure.
have it.
Well, that's the communication side of it. If Sarah, Chandra, or Cheryl are running somewhere, at 6 in the morning
Yeah,
or at
we wanna
8
know
at
where the heck
night,
they're at if we can't find them.
you have safety issues. I mean, you don't know, and you just wanna know because that's your personnel. You know, it doesn't matter about the election when you come to safety. So that's where it's just like having this single spot where you all send a message. Nobody takes a step without a quick text saying, I'm going here, or I'm going there.
But you could use Messenger for that as well.
You could use all sorts of stuff, yeah.
I do like having the Halo group though. Dude, that's what I do for all my stuff, what church stuff, and I just get everybody on so that everybody knows what's going on, and it just saves me so much time.
If you went to if you went to kind of a one-time phone, I mean, I wouldn't ask, we have it in our family, but for instance, on our family, everybody's got Life 360. So as long as your GPS is on, then not only do you gonna send a message, you're also gonna be able to see where that person is. That's not something, I don't know that, you'd have to weigh with, can you ask people to put that on their personal phone for a work
Just for-
use, that kind of a thing, but the way that whole thing, but that'd be another way. I don't think that replaces the text, or the message or whatever that says, I'm going here, I'm going there. I think that's crucial because when you go back to leadership, that's, whether it be Sarah, whether it be Sean, or whether it be Cheryl, somebody's looking at that and they're able to step in and say, nope, hold on, I've already dealt with that, or nope, this, or this just came up, I just talked to this person and we're done, or whatever. And I suspect there's a lot of that could be handled when, I know it's crazy, but I think that would help.
You also have a documentation trail, in case someone questions anything that you did later on.
Yeah.
This is exactly step by step what we did.
Yep.
So,
Carla's our lifeline on that. She gets the phone calls and then she starts messaging people and asking, calling us and saying, hey, where you at? This so-and-so just called. Are you able to get there? And at that point in time, I was in Danville. I'm like, if anybody else is closer in town that can get there faster, try them. If not, I can.
Yeah,
get
that's
down here and
exactly.
take off.
And that's where like a messenger or something like that would be a lot handier, cause then you
Yeah.
can all see it.
I was
and-
keeping a log,
Yep.
and I knew that you were not available because you were down in Kingston, because Cheryl had already told me that, so I knew at least where you two were and that you weren't
Yep.
available. I just kept going back and forth and writing down who I had talked to and who had tried this, and
Yeah.
and it did, you're right, it would be great to have all that, where everybody could look at it.
Yeah. It'd be actually a pretty handy thing if it would come in, I mean, I know it's generally on the phone, but it'd be handy too for like you, if it could be also on the computer, where the same thing that would be showing up on people's phone could come in on the computer, since you're at your desk, and it'd be a lot easier to manage while you were doing anything else too. I don't know if
Just
that's
messenger would
possible.
work on that.
The last thing I do wanna mention, because of experience with my mom, is that, that you gotta figure out something different than asking the old lady to drive to Burlington at 8:30 at night with stuff. And that may not have been her responsibility, I know we worked it out and I brought it the next day, but you'll lose a person if that becomes, because she doesn't wanna drive at night at 8:30 at night.
Most old people don't.
Most, yeah.
So, and I think what I understood was, she didn't take that out of the meeting. She took that from what the person she had kind of learned off of had done over the years, and she thought it was just a requirement. So that might be a
Well,
point
it
of
is.
clarification.
The chair's supposed to bring that stuff back that they pick up here, but I know that she's had, a poll worker of hers that used to work with her constantly. She let her bring it back, which I was okay with that, as long as we knew who was bringing that back. So that way she didn't have to bring it back, but
Well,
it's.
my point is,
Brody, correct me if I'm
it's a
wrong.
lot at night at 8:30.
But they have not always, every one of them brought their stuff back the night of the election.
No, I think-
As long as
I
you
think it's
guys
been-
know
The
who's
next
bringing
morning,
it
I
back.
think was a lot of them did.
I think it's
I'm
been
right,
NYI.
right?
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah,
I think
either
you
like
need to
Dartmouth
address
or
it.
Minneapolis, one
That's
was
all.
generally like the next day, it
Yeah.
seems like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So those could come.
Because when I get a call of concern from my mom, I know she's worried, because she rarely ever wants to tell me anything about that, and she is not wanting, I was supposed to drive her down, that's what was gonna happen, well, then I called you.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I don't wanna drive to Burlington at 8:30 at night. So, brought it the next day, it worked out fine. I just wanna mention that I was kind of interesting there, Rodney's guys showed up at 8, so he kinda stood there the same way I did.
Yep.
And watched them kinda close down and stuff, and I know he needs to get right on the road and going, so there's not much efficiency to be gained there, and it's already a long day, so I don't know the right answer, and some others are probably just fine, but I know you're not getting a lot of young workers at those things, cause they're at work,
Right.
so you don't wanna chase off the people that you have.
Right.
Is there any legalities that it has to be there at night?
No, they can bring it back the next morning, as long as we know when it's coming, we can communicate with them and it can come back the next morning.
I'm sure that they could message you guys and handle
Yeah.
that. You guys, anyway, that was just from my own personal experience. I think it worked fine. I locked it in my vehicle. I loaded in my vehicle that night, I locked in my vehicle that night. And my vehicle was locked literally the entire morning until I got here for security,
Yeah.
just to be able to say that. So,
If something like that happened and let's say his vehicle caught on fire and everything was lost, is everything lost?
Well, that, we have the TM that has all the votes and everything on it, we'd have that in the office already, cause that's what the carrier brings back that night. So we'd have the vote count, but we would lose the equipment. I mean, if everything burned up in there, we wouldn't have any of that, obviously.
The unused ballots are also in there,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So
So
that's a
if
problem.
what if somebody's vehicle got broke into overnight? I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, it's never been an issue and people's brought it back the next day, but
Right.
I know there's a lot more eyes and scrutiny on this next presidential election.
Yeah,
where-
absolutely.
Is that something we wanna take the risk of? I don't know, it's something where we work out, where maybe as far as us as carriers, bring the stuff back. And then as soon as we bring the stuff back, go back to those precincts and pick up that stuff and bring it back ourselves? Or do we keep doing it how we do it? I don't know.
Yeah, we would have to, it just depends, because that'd be a lot of,
some may not
Somebody's
care.
gonna get in a car wreck one of these days driving back.
And everybody
and
else
forth, back
usually
and
brings
forth.
them, except for usually the far away, like.
Yeah, I
Norfolk.
mean, like I said, some may not care. I just wanna bring it up.
yeah.
Cause,
The
only
ones
because
in
it
town
came up,
normally don't.
otherwise I
It's
wouldn't
like
have any idea.
It's the ones that have to drive, yeah, which, and I get it.
So on those, is there somebody we can have that can just go get them?
Right, let's say
Yeah.
somebody designated that can just be the pickup man.
I'm sure we could figure something out, or again, you're talking part-time help, there's a chance that there could be something along those lines too, I don't know.
Would those unused ballots be ready, like when they shut the stuff down? To
Yeah, see,
where
they can-
we could pick up the little TM things?
Well,
They have to
Those
count
unused
them and
ballots?
everything though,
Oh,
is the
they
only
do.
thing, so it takes
Yeah.
a second
Okay.
for them to get their tally sheets ready, and we need to
It's-
have those TMs back in the office, so it'd be
It's
something that
not
they
a
have to.
fast process.
No,
When you're looking at,
So
I
you have
just
time.
watch it, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a half hour for that, and my mom warned me it can take up to an hour.
yeah,
And I'm guessing that's more presidential size,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
so it's not, I can understand why Rodney's guy needed to get on the road and get
Oh,
going.
absolutely.
and- Cause I know you need to get those results out there. So I don't know, I just wanna bring it up.
Yeah,
We can discuss that.
if anything, we'd have to probably send maintenance back out for them or something like
Yeah.
that, cause,
So you still have that same or still could have that same problem because they pick them up the day before. So the car could still catch on fire
Yeah.
before
So
the
ultimately-
You
election.
can't get rid of some of
Yeah,
that.
or they could, be in an accident. Stuff can happen because you still have that 24-hour period before the
before that they pick
election.
them up, yeah.
No way to
As you
avoid it when
do.
you're looking
No,
at it
As
a long
you
day
do
like that.
after.
So. Yeah, I just think everybody working together as a team, this is not something that one person can solely do, we all have to have a hand in it. We all have regular jobs on top of that we have to keep up on too, so, I think if we can put together like a checklist or something, so that way, we know where we're at. Somebody can take on something while somebody else gets their regular stuff done, or what, vice versa, just so we can be more efficient with that. But I think we work together great, and we had 3 of them this year, and they're all ran different, so, we ran into different things with every one of them, but I think we handled things well.
Did it get better as you went along or worse?
It gets better, there's just, every one of them have their own separate, unique things, so it's like, they all had something that I've never seen before, and that, that we've had to handle, so, but
Those times
that's how we
too.
work through things and figure out what we can do better for the next time, and what works better for the next time, and I think just, teamwork is a huge thing, like we've said
We
before.
keep having these washes, I think it's good to talk about
Yeah.
what you did afterwards, I think this is a great idea to do that.
So I think communication and just teamwork like we always do, and keeping track of where everybody's at, what everybody's doing, and getting a precinct list of workers' names and stuff like that together. They talked about having that in the office so they can get a hold of precinct workers and things like that too, so I think just try to make things easier, and working together is gonna be huge, so.
So what's Colin gonna do? Are you gonna boost the two areas where there's no,
We'll take a look at that and see what,
It depends on what's there, honestly.
Yeah.
And what I can get for signal and, but I can, I can get boosters either outside the building and then run inside. And there's a lot of different ways I can do it, just.
There's probably fiber straight to the Two Rivers site, but Yarmouth has always struggled. I know there's been at least 2 different phone companies that have tried to get grants to run fiber to Yarmouth. So I'm not sure there's good internet, high-speed
There.
internet there, so.
Don't they have landlines at both of those places?
I would imagine the fire station would.
I'm not sure if they have access to, that's the thing.
yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be that hard to get a 50-foot cord and, hey, at the end of the day, make sure this is plugged in and just bring a phone and that way they can string it wherever they need.
Yeah.
Or at least have access to where, hey, we're just
Well, that's
gonna
what, kinda what
plug our
Colin was saying, was taking a
phone in.
landline there, since he's got the cloud now, that he can do that, just
Yeah.
taking a landline of ours there so that they can use it if they need to.
Carrier
You can have
pigeons.
my phone, I volunteer.
That would seem to be the
Smoke
easiest
signals.
and cheapest route, if they have a landline there,
Yeah.
just
Call them.
we have to take a long cord and a phone.
Honestly, yeah.
Get it to where they need to go, that would be.
Since those don't use that often, I could probably repurchase those for a day.
yeah, no doubt. That's a good call.
Problem
Well,
with
they
the
may have
landline,
internet
you
at the
have to
fire
remember
station,
phone
it just
numbers.
may not be.
In terms of the communication app, I got, some pretty good ideas on that, but I'll talk with that.
Okay,
first.
yeah.
So we can have
What
all
time's pizza
numbers on
served?
the front of the binders.
Sarah's gonna pick that up at 11:15.
Oh, we better get going.
We
huh?
gotta get this
We don't want to keep
wrapped
Sarah
up.
from that.
That's why I motioned for her a while ago to slap you back in the head so you'd be quiet.
Is that what that
I
swipe
think
was?
Gina
I
had
saw
one
that.
more
That white
thing.
one.
I did,
I looked around and thought you were aiming at Cheryl.
I got a copy of the email that was sent to you guys from Don Lynch on the mail, suspicious piece of mail.
Yes,
Are you training all your staff on that and?
so we all had that sent to us, and we all just,
Okay.
and Kevin had it, we all just kinda kept our eyes out for it.
We've
but yeah.
stopped licking the envelopes as a
Yeah.
result of that email.
Pulling stick.
Well,
Don't
I
worry,
mean, it's
Carla's
been
still
an issue
licking
for
everything
a
else.
number of years,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
for a while there, we had a lot of, white powder incidents and that's kind of disappeared
It's back.
pretty much, but it's back. And I'm afraid it will get worse before,
Yeah.
the next election, so.
Yeah, you'd like to hope that the
Because
post
people are just
office
gonna want
notices
chaos.
it, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
You
that's
would
just
hope,
it,
but-
this one was, I mean, it ran fine, it's just, you think you're busy now, next year is gonna be, we're gonna need a lot of help next year. So, it's gonna be busy, constantly, so.
We all need help from time to time, just like that.
Well, that's right, that's right, it's the biggest thing.
That's right.
I think doing that down the basement would be a good idea, because it does get, I mean,
I like
the last
that.
one, there was a ton of people out here in between. If you have that going on, if they have court and stuff, and they'll have
Well, that's why I
everyone sitting in the hallway, that'd be
Yep.
a great thing to get some of that paperwork done before they get up this far.
Yep,
So
and if they don't
that-
use the basement entrance, like, I'm gonna have a table at the top of the stairs so that I can have somebody sitting there to tell them to fill out their form, and then have them just go a big circle this way, so that way we're not constantly going back and forth, yeah, so.
And I even thought about the front door too, because you're gonna have people coming in both directions. Try to stop them at both entrances if we can, if we have enough workers, I guess.
Yeah.
That way we can stop the clutter up here and they'll come up and they'll know exactly where they need to go and start the flow.
Yep. Yep, we're gonna need help galore, so.
We got time to get your help lined up.
Yeah, so, and I will reach out and email Wes about those laptops too, so maybe we can get those going prior to,
That would be nice.
so. Okay,
Are we
well, thank you,
satisfied?
everybody.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.